We're joined today by Steve Georgie with Allendale Incorporated as we talk about planting pace here. Steve, obviously it's been pretty slow to get started across much of the Midwest with this cool, wet weather, but that could change soon.
Yeah, and it is. You look at all the, as you mentioned, the wet weather, all the rain. I mean, you get on Twitter, you see the pictures, right? You see a lot of these fields that are wet right now. And the planting pace that we have seen throughout, the last several weeks, we are behind. We know that. We do need to be, I guess, a little mindful coming up into the next several weeks, though. Can things pick up very fast? We know the 80-degree temperatures across the Midwest. That's going to certainly help dry things out. And there is a good open window for most areas over the next week in order for us to really get things done. The American farmer is amazing. By putting the crop in the ground, the speed at which you guys can get that done is absolutely astonishing. And so we've got to be very mindful of that. Things can pick up pretty fast when we have the ability to do it. And I think that we've got that chance over the next couple of weeks to really step up planting pace. So I think the markets right now are kind of on edge. Yes, we're behind, but looking forward, we can pick that up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it feels like here over the next couple of weeks, those are going to be the windows to see how much of this we can get done. And then you go beyond that and you start to look out into the summer, and of course weather, always a wild card.
Yes, and that's it. We're going to talk planting pace for maybe another couple weeks, and then it's going to be directly to weather. What does the weather look like? What are we doing? Listening to some of these stories and watching some of these forecasters put out their perspective going into summer. Just reading one again today from a pretty reputable forecaster, still looking at this drier bias to come in through summer. Now, not only is there above average temperatures, but we're talking below average precip, and the area in which they were talking prior has now expanded. And so this is something that is going to be watched very, very quickly. And as we talked before about the volatility that we get in these markets, if we start putting in a drought type mentality or just drier bias mentality, these markets could find some spark very, very quickly again. But planting paces, we're going to talk about that for maybe another few weeks. And then we're going to move right into what the summer outlook looks like and what kind of weather we have coming ahead. And we'll probably play that in pretty early this year.
Yeah, a lot of things to try to figure out here in the next month for sure. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for being here. We'll be back with a thicker weather coming up in just a minute.
To talk to Steve Georgie one-on-one, call Allendale Incorporated at 800-262-7538 or head online to allendale-inc.com.